Welcome everybody to the SCOMathon 2026. In this case we are talking about from legacy to latest, modernizing your SCOM environment without the pain. I am Bob Cornelissen, I'm a 16 times Microsoft MVP from the Netherlands and I work at Topcore, which is a TGS Innovised company. I'm the managing partner there and lead consultant. And we are going into the session about why and how to modernize your SCOM infrastructure in the backend. So this session is aimed at SCOM admins running older versions of SCOM who want to upgrade with minimal risk and downtime, want to move forward. We'll cover why upgrading matters, the main upgrade approaches, real-world lessons learned, preparation steps and pitfalls, and post-upgrade validation. The reason why we are doing this session is because we and our partners here have noticed during all kinds of customer engagements, such as in our case a SCOM health check, that we have talked about earlier today. We see organizations running on older versions of SCOM, sometimes because lack of experience or because they do not want to touch a running system. We have heard a few times that budget was allocated differently due to geopolitical circumstances, but at some point we should strive to move our versioning up for our Windows backend and applications living on those servers, and SCOM is one of those. We are here to tell you that it can be done. And if you need help, you can reach out anytime to us later. Let's get started with the why we want to upgrade. So upgrading SCOM isn't just about running the latest version, it's about support and stability and security. Older SCOM versions such as 2016, 2019 are already out of mainstream support. That means fewer fixes, no new features and a higher risk. Newer versions deliver faster consoles, better scalability, modern operating system and SQL support, and features like Teams alerting. Staying current also avoids some painful multi-hop upgrades later. So where you have to jump between all kinds of different versions to get to the latest step. We will talk about one of those situations in a bit, where many select to do a swing migration, for example. So looking at the supportability, keep an eye on older versions. So in this case, older versions are not just 2012 version, for example, which is long out of support, also for Windows and SQL and everything, but also 2016 and 2019 can be put in this bracket because we are far into the extended support and not many organizations have extended support for System Center. So we are looking at moving towards 2025 or 2022 in some cases, but 2025 is we can. And of course, we will be ready for the next version coming after that from there. There have been a lot of scalability and performance improvements over the years. Those have been effectuated already in 2016, 19, 22 and 25 by the Microsoft team. And you will find that it gives a lot of better possibilities there moving forward. Another item here is it's not just about running the latest version, it's about moving forward to new features. Right? So new features are a motivator. Each version adds some nice enhancements. For example, we have Microsoft Teams integration for alert notifications. We have expanded role-based access control, like read-only admins, for example. We have support for GMSA accounts, group managed service accounts, and quality of live updates in the console. SCOM 2025 supports the latest Windows version, Windows Server version and SQL Server versions. And you will see that there has been work on TLS 1.3 there as well. It's not complete, but we will see a lot of cases where we can actually use it and where it makes sense. So when you upgrade, you unlock certain possibilities that you can use in the future. Next point is future readiness. It's easier to keep up if you're on a recent version. Microsoft typically allows direct upgrades only from the previous version to the next version. So if you fall too far behind, upgrades become either a multi-step upgrade or become a side-by-side upgrade. So you're kind of getting forced into a certain direction of upgrading. So if you upgrade now, you make your next upgrade and the one after that far simpler. In short, a modern SCOM environment is more secure, performs better, sets you up for success in the years ahead, versus clinging to a legacy system that is increasingly brittle. This also means that it is hard for us to tell you the whole story in a 40-minute session with options, pros and cons within the space of like I said, a big half-hour time. We will point out the general path that you can generally choose from, some lessons learned, and where you can get training and help with this process to get yourself to the latest and greatest while improving the business value coming from your monitoring and management backend system for your business. So, we have to understand that we are looking at an enterprise monitoring product. There is complexity involved. There are many moving parts in the backend, but also you might have implemented high availability. So that means that there will be more sections into the SCOM backend than before. We're also looking at the number of objects. So you might be monitoring anywhere from a few hundred just Windows agents to thousands of Windows with Linux, with network, with other types of objects, which makes the complexity larger. Integrations with, for example, ITIL tools. So, for example, for moving your alerts into an alert management system or an incident management system, there might be integrations with automation, with handling all kinds of things, with other monitoring tools, with dashboarding tools such as SquareUp, with other management packs that are a little bit more complex from third parties, for example. We have reliance as well, so your teams might rely on the backend system of SCOM running in order to understand what is going on. So there might be multiple moving parts in this SCOM backend. So this means that you cannot just, put a weight on your huge enter key, which I have by the way here as well, and just click next, finish, and then wait for the wizard to finish your upgrade for you. So you need to prepare, train yourself if needed, and if you need to, you can engage some expert guidance as well here. All right, so what are the main upgrade paths? So just saying, if you have, let's say, a SCOM 2019, let's say, and you want to move it up to a next version of SCOM, what are the 3 ways of doing it? Well, the first approach is an in-place upgrade. So for an in-place upgrade, you almost literally do put in like the CD for the next version into the first management server, and then you say, okay, let's upgrade and see if it finishes the wizard. If it does, then you take the next management server and so on, until you reach the end and you have upgraded everything. So that's an in-place upgrade. You are using the existing server without touching Windows, without touching SQL at that moment. You're just saying, hey, I just want to move to a next version of SCOM running on that backend platform. Assuming that it is possible, of course. So that is one of the things that you need to keep in mind. You cannot run the newest version of SCOM on the oldest version of Windows. The next option is to do a swing or a swap migration. So what you do here is, for example, we see this happening at some of our customers, where they say we want to stay with the same management group. We don't want to touch the management group too much. We have our settings, we have everything connected, but we know that we have to install newer Windows Server versions in the backend. So what you do is you install a new Windows Server, you install a SCOM management server on it of the same version as you had before. And in that way, you move all of your Windows Server versions up, then you move your SQL versions up running on those servers. And then you can say, now we can do an in-place upgrade again to a newer version of SCOM on the same backend platform. And that way it all stays the same, but on newer versions of the backend. And the third option is the side-by-side migration. So in the side-by-side migration, you build up a brand new SCOM environment in parallel to the existing one. So the existing one keeps running. Nobody has a problem at that point, right? So everything is still running. Everybody can still connect. All of your dashboards are running. And in the meantime, you set up a different SCOM on a newer Windows, newer SQL, newer SCOM. You make everything ready, the backend, and then you say, let's migrate now the agents across and the management packs across. So basically the monitoring and the execution of the monitoring. And then when that step is finished, then you can swap all of the consoles across and everybody is now using the new system and you can start breaking down the old system. So those are the three main items that we can use. There is no one size fits all because SCOM is a kind of a flexible enterprise monitoring tool. That means that basically everywhere we go, we find a little bit difference in the way people deployed it and they are using it, the management packs, the setup, the versions. Everybody is a little bit different. So that means you cannot simply say, well, just click here, click there, and you're done. Unless, of course, it's a simple test environment, which has no special connections to anything else. All right, so let's focus a little bit on the in-place upgrade first. So when you're doing an in-place upgrade, you're taking your existing environment and you are basically just moving the backend parts around, right? So you're basically saying, I will put in my CD, I will upgrade to the next version of SCOM on this server, the same server, while it is still in the same management group. And then you take the next one, the next one, the next one. You take the gateways, the web server, the report server, the agents, and slowly everything is moving up in version while not touching your Windows version or SQL version. This is, of course, the fastest approach, because if your backend system is ready for the next SCOM version already, for example, you have the Windows version high enough, then this will work pretty fast. It keeps all historical data in place, so your database will stay there, and it requires a healthy SCOM. So that is an important part of this. You cannot avoid downtime, by the way, with this system, because you are really shutting down a machine at that moment, updating it, and then bringing it back in. So there will be some downtime involved here as well, especially for those using the backend system, for example, SCOM consoles and dashboards which are open. But it will be only for part of the time and little bits. The one thing that you have to keep in mind with this is you are bringing across everything that you had before into the next system. So if we move here to this slide, it's a little bit easier to see. So we see here the Pro, it's the fastest option. So simplicity and speed is, of course, counts a lot. And this is the fastest and easiest option to use. You don't have to set up new servers, duplicate your whole environment. You have all of your configurations still in place. So you don't need extra things here. Essentially, it's the least disruptive in terms of the architecture. So the backend will stay the same. but you will have a little bit higher risk if you have an existing issue. So, for example, if you have a currently, broken or performance problem system in your SCOM, um, or there are misconfigurations done by somebody else in the past, maybe even years ago. We've come across there where people who left already 5 years ago put in some configurations which are wrong, and now they are being carried forward, which is now a problem for the next person trying to run this SCOM environment. So that is one of the things you need to keep in mind. So if you have a problem, you put in the CD, there is already a higher risk of the upgrade failing, but also you are carrying forward the problem to the next version and maybe making it worse. So that is one of the things you want to do. If you have a currently stable environment, sometimes we also come across environments which have been installed right away in the 2022 version and they want to move to 2025. Well, if there are no big problems, then that's the easiest way because they already did a clean install in the previous version, and now moving it up to the next might very well fit your in-place upgrade scenario. And there's the one caveat here is that Microsoft supports the upgrading of one version at a time. So for example, if you want to move to SCOM 2025, you have to be running SCOM 2022 already. So you cannot just skip multiple versions with the wizard, with the install wizard, the setup wizard. All right. So what about the swing migration? So the swing migration is a two-phase approach. You first introduce new management servers on modern Windows and SQL into the existing group. Right. So let's say you're running everything on 2019. Windows, SQL, SCOM. Let's say you have 2019 here. So SCOM 2019 supports being run on Windows 2022. So what you can do is you can say, I will add a few Windows 2022 servers with Windows 22 and then install SCOM 2019 on it. And then later on, get rid of the old management servers which are running 2019 on 2019. So that way you move your Windows version up. You can do the same with SQL. And then at some point you have your whole backend ready, running on SCOM 2019, but on a higher version of Windows and SQL. And then you can move yourself up in the existing infrastructure. So basically at this point you are then doing an in-place upgrade. So first you are swinging across to new servers and new database servers, and then you are doing an in-place upgrade. So this will reduce your downtime again because you are using your existing settings, your existing management group, your existing data, everything in the backend will stay the same. It's still the same management group. So the approach, like I said, we are looking at introducing new servers, moving the roles and data across to those new servers, and then removing the old ones. So that's the swinging part, the jumping across to the other side. And then you perform the in-place upgrade. Pro, you avoid operating system and SQL compatibility roadblocks. A con is you need temporarily extra servers, right? You're installing new servers, adding them to the management group, moving everything across, and then later on removing the old ones. So best fit, for example, if your SCOM is in a decent shape, functionally, but it is running on an outdated platform, you want to move your Windows up, right? So aside from talking about an application like SCOM is, right? You are also looking at your whole infrastructure in the backend where you want to move up your Windows versions gradually as well. So I think currently you would be wanting to run on Windows 2022 and 25 if possible, and try to get rid of older versions. And I know many organizations are still running, servers running on 2008, 2012, 2016, but they are usually already trying to get rid of them, and usually it's only stuck on 1 or 2 applications which cannot support higher versions, so that means another type of migration. So if your SCOM is relatively stable, or it has been on a newer version since the last time, but it's just missing a newer Windows and SQL version, you can use the swing migration. Right, let's move on to the next option. That is the side-by-side migration. So what you do here is you have your old SCOM environment, in this case on the right, and your new SCOM environment you set up on the left. You make a clean start. That's also an advantage in this case, because you can say, let's get rid of some old stuff that we don't need anymore. We can do parallel testing, so you leave the old system running, everybody's looking at it, everybody's using it, that's fine, and in the meantime you can test the new system, see if it works, and then at some point you make the jump from the old version to the new version. So you've moved your management packs across, you've moved your configuration across, the ones that you need, and then at some point you say, okay, agents, start looking that way. And you can say the people who are looking at your consoles, dashboards, reports, etc., start looking to the other side. And that is basically the jump. So when we are looking here at the side-by-side migration, building it up, of course, gives you the pro of being a clean slate. So you are building up right away to the newest version of Windows that you can support. Hopefully your organization will support the latest versions, that you can say, I want to install, well, right now, a Windows 2025 server, SQL 2025 if possible, and otherwise 2022, and then move across to your new SCOM environment and make that a 2025 version, for example. So it gives you a clean slate. You start new, you start looking at your management packs. Which management packs do we still need? We have talked about it before during the health check session. Many people, they still have old versions of management packs sitting there, maybe even still from the 2008 age. So that is very old, and they give a lot of small problems, and especially problems while working together with newer versions of management packs for newer versions of Windows. So we want to get rid of what we don't need anymore, and we can focus on what we do need. Maybe there will even be some new management packs that you want to import for newer versions of products that you want to support right now, and upgrade everything in the meantime. So what this means is, that's basically also the con to this story. It does take more time because you have to install everything again. You are making new connections, new configurations. You can rethink your overrides. That can be an advantage because you actually do get to rethink it. But of course, the disadvantage is that it takes time. Of course, you always have the option of saying, hey, I will blindly migrate everything across. Just saying, this is your chance to clean it up a little bit. And it would be good if you take a little bit of time at least to do the basics there. So why is this a best fit? I think it's a best fit for if you have a heavily outdated backend. For example, you're running a really older version of SCOM, you cannot move it across by just adding a few newer Windows versions in the swing migration. You really need to say, well, now I need to jump 2-3 versions across in one go. I will just set it up cleanly and then move the monitoring configuration across, install newer versions of the agents, and then migrate. This is also very useful if you have current issues in your SCOM environment. Performance issues, configuration issues, data churn, config churn, any other issues that you haven't taken care of. For example, you might have a design issue from before. It may have been designed for maybe half of the agents that you're running now. Maybe before you designed it to run only some Windows agents, and now you're actually monitoring Linux and network and other devices as well. So This means that this is a chance also to improve your design and your backend. And you get rid of old baggage. And that's also one of the things that you have to take in mind. Most of the times, you will start with a new, fresh data set. So a data warehouse is going to be empty, and you start filling it again over time. And then you can report on that. All right, so we have some lessons learned here. For example, touching an electrified fence. Um, we have to learn always, right? So, and this is one of the ways of learning. Now, we have come across all kinds of things in the past in our, well, in my case, it's about 23 years of working with SCOM, something like that. My colleagues also usually 10, 12, 15 years. So you can imagine that we have been running into things and also supporting people from the community where they have run into items. The first thing I would say is health checks matter. Not just saying this because we offer that as a service. I'm saying you need to plan. Like I said, this is a complex piece of backend, usually with a lot of connections and things that you need to consider. It's good to do a check. Where are we currently? Where do we want to move? Can we actually do it? Are we bringing across problems, or are we ready for the next step? Because your old baggage might cause pain if you touch it with your finger. Downtime can be minimized. That is why we also do checks, but also why we make certain decisions in which of the three upgrade methods we are using. And usually there is going to be a little bit of mix in that as well. And of course, like I said, we learn from our failures, from your failures, from everybody's failures, and successes as well. Keep that in mind. So there are failures and successes posted on blogs, in forums, things that we have learned the hard way and that we have put in the health check, for example, or that we've put in our procedure or in our planning. Okay, we have to consider this and that. That'll take a little bit of time, and we need to have the accounts and the passwords that we need for connecting to the other system, etc. We need to have our procedures, for example, our change requests moving forward in the whole system as well. And we have to plan and prepare the whole thing. Sometimes it's as easy as setting up an Excel sheet with, maybe 50 steps underneath each other, and then saying, okay, so this is how we will do it. These are the main things we need to consider, and this is somewhat the order in which we will do it. Let's move forward from there. So preparation is most part of the work, I would say. Confirming the supported upgrade path, operating system and SQL compatibility, prerequisites like .NET versions. Sometimes it means fixing all of the SCOM issues first that you currently have, especially if you want to do an in-place upgrade or a swing migration. Removing deprecated management packs, old management packs that you don't need anymore. Backup everything, including the encryption keys for the reporting services. Ensure enough database free space. Planning your maintenance window, of course, so you have your maybe an updated design and high level design, low level design. It might still be based on the old one. It's just replacing a number of things, maybe rethinking part of the design, and then moving it forward. So it's not always about more time and more effort needed. We have checked SCOM. Yes, we prepare the backend and make sure we have the backups there. All right, so even with planning, there are some classic pitfalls that have tripped up many SCOM admins. So let's highlight a few of those so you can try and stay clear of it. First of all, skipping any planning or checks at the beginning. So just putting in the CD, even though it's an ISO file. But putting in the CD and just clicking next, 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 finish, and let's see what happens, that might actually run you into problems. Making backups, those kind of things, making a plan in front, having a change plan as well, and a change request agreed to. There we go. Unmet prerequisites. If you're not running the right versions of Windows, SQL, .NET, and those kind of things, and you just start, that might run you into problems. One of the things we have mentioned before, upgrading an already broken SCOM. So if you have current problems, performance problems, configuration problems, you are looking at 10,000 alerts right now in your open alerts screen. That means you have some kind of a problem already, either in your environment or with SCOM. So either one is the reason why you have that many. It would be wise to first look at that before doing a blind upgrade, because if something is broken, you will carry it forward and maybe make it worse. Usually making it worse. Forcing an in-place upgrade when inappropriate because there were problems, for example, or because your Windows is not ready for it. You just start, you run into a problem, you need to roll back to a backup that you had before, hopefully that you did create. We also see post-upgrade oversights, so things that are actually also in the official documentation where you need to re-enable your automation, your connectors, your notifications, those kind of things, but also some configurations you usually do after the fact, or things that have been added to a new version of SCOM that you then need to, use the checkboxes for or leave out. Also, underestimating time, so your maintenance window, telling the other users of SCOM, hey, your SCOM is going to be down for a number of minutes, for a little bit of time, or for a number of hours, or today 1 hour, tomorrow 1 hour, because every time we are doing one step. So inform other people as well. Best practices for a smooth upgrade. First of all, if you have it, run it in a test lab. So either a new installation or an in-place upgrade, you can do this in your test environment if you have one. That's your first step. Use maintenance mode and communicate with the people behind you. Right? So you are not the only person running SCOM, but also using SCOM, I hope. Because in that case, it will be more of a problem. So make sure you communicate with others what you're doing and how it affects them. Upgrading in stages. We are looking at, for example, the agent multi-homing. If you do a side-by-side migration, you can either use your current agent version and you let it talk to your current SCOM and to the new SCOM at the same time, or you can upgrade your agent first and then let it talk to the old and the new version at the same time. Usually this is a thing that works, and then you can upgrade it in stages, so you can start with a smaller group of agents, set up your whole configuration first, make some changes, see that you don't get too many alerts or that they are actually the same as what you expected given the old SCOM at that moment, and then you can move everything across. Look at post-upgrade validation. So check also afterwards if it actually worked. If you see the same alerts there coming up, especially the ones you expected that you didn't want to get rid of. Look at if your system is still performing, if it can keep up. Those kind of things, there are post-upgrade validations. This is also a reason why we usually run a SCOM health check at the end as well, to see either if we've forgotten any settings or changes, or if there is a problem coming up. Documentation and support. Definitely prepare your documentation either during and before the upgrade, but also after. Your procedures might have to change. There will be other screenshots that you might need. You have to think about your backup restore. It might work slightly different this time in the newer version. All right, so You've done your upgrading, but your work isn't done yet. So what you are doing now is you verify. So you verify core services and consoles if they are running in the right way. Maybe you have newer versions of dashboards. You can also look at, if you have a dashboarding tool like SquareUp, for example, you can have a look at the newest version and move that across as well. You will re-enable some of the features. You re-enable connectors to other systems from your newer system. Make sure that your alerts are moving. For example, if you are notifications moving towards either an email address or to ServiceNow or wherever you are moving it to, make sure that works. Make sure your monitoring is stable. Document and learn. I think that is one of the important things there. All right, so recommended upgrade decision matrix. So this is just to keep it short. If you have a sound and supported environment, you can look at an in-place upgrade. If you have a healthy SCOM but an outdated operating system sequel, and we're not talking very old, but like one version behind, then you can look at swing migration. If you have an older version, so let's say 2 or 3 versions older than what you're wanting to go to, or your environment is unstable, there are problems that you know of, do a side-by-side migration. That is the easiest way. If you have a 0 or low downtime requirement, you can look at side-by-side and multi-homing your agents, because the old system will still be running, and as long as people are still looking at that console, everything will be the same for them. Limited time or resources, then you can again look at an in-place upgrade because it is the fastest, assuming your prerequisites are met. So if they are met, you can move forward in that. Concluding, so upgrading SCOM brings your stability, support, and future readiness if done right. There's no universal approach. Success comes from matching the strategy to your environment, and for everybody that will be slightly different. With good preparation and validation, the upgrading does not have to be that painful at all. And to wrap up, remember, modernizing your SCOM environment is very achievable with the right approach. The benefits can really help you. Plan carefully. I think that is an important thing. Prepare your environment in your team, so other team members that have something to do with SCOM. They are either looking at the console or they have to support your backend, your SQL and Windows Server deployment. Avoid common mistakes by learning from others' experiences and follow best practices, and don't skip validations at the end. By doing these, your upgrade does not have to be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be that expensive. It doesn't have to be difficult. Keep your drama at a minimum. If you need help, then we are here to help you as well at Topcore. One of the things that we actually have 2 main services that touch this, aside from the health checks that we have talked about before. We do have a SCOM migration and upgrade training, which is a 1-day training. Again, even there you cannot touch upon every single little step because that's different for everybody. But we will cover the same story, but much more extensively with all of the options that we have there in a 1-day or 2 half-days training, which we can do online or on site. Second part is, obviously, we are a consultancy company. We have been doing SCOM consultancy since a very long time, since we existed. Anything that you need there, we can help you with, either, again, online or on site. We have many, many years of experience doing these kind of things, and you are welcome to contact us to get things done. Now, what else is there? I think we have covered the main basics of everything. Of course, I want to thank you for being here and for your attention. Like I said, there's only so much that we can talk about in 40 minutes time. And you see that it was already difficult to fit this in. And we are here for helping you move forward. If you have questions or ideas or things that you're missing, just let me know. Contact us and we'll get back to you in that. Thank you so much for being here, and let's continue with the rest of Scomathon. Thank you.